I am now joined in the studio by one of my favourite people, Caro Ryan from Lots of Fresh Air. Because, look, one of the best stories this summer has to be when Hadi Nazari was found alive after 2 weeks missing in Kosciuszko National Park. He'd been bushwalking with friends when he went off track to take some photos, something we've all done. And there was a plan to meet at a campground later, but Hadi didn't arrive. The ending to this story was thankfully a happy one, but what struck me most about it was Hadi was considered an experienced bushwalker, and even he got lost. So what can we do to stay safe in the bush? Caro's going to give us some tips. We'd also love to hear from you. If you've got any stories about getting lost, any advice that you have, give us a call on 1300 222 702 or text 0467 922 702. So, Caro, if we're heading out, great to see you.
It's so good to be here.
Now, what are the basics? If you're heading out on any hike, even one that you know, even one that seems perfectly safe, what should you always do?
There's a really fabulous, helpful little acronym to help us all, keep front of mind the things that we need to do. And it's T.R.E.K, T-R-E-K. And I feel like I've been saying it a lot lately, but think before you trek. It's a great campaign that the National Parks and Police Rescue up in the Blue Mountains put together a few years ago. And the T stands for take everything you need. So we can go into some of those things later if you like. So there's T for take what you need. R, register your intention. Just a fancy way of saying tell someone where you're going.
Yes.
Tell them where you're going, tell them when you'll be back, and then let them know when you are back. Then E, emergency communications. So many of these wonderful and amazing places that we love to spend time in take us outside of mobile phone coverage. So having some way that you can call for help and contact people if you need to is a great idea. So E, emergency communications. Think of it like a PLB. It's a personal locator beacon or something like that. And then K, know your route and stick to it. So have a map, know where you're going, maybe do a little bit of research beforehand, and then keep your awareness out the whole time when you're out there to go, oh, wait, if something doesn't feel right, it doesn't reflect what you were expecting to see on the map, you can do something about it.
Now, sometimes when I'm heading out for a bushwalk, I will consider whether I'm going to be alone, whether I'm going to be with a group, what the weather is looking like, all those sorts of things. Some tracks are easier to navigate than others, aren't they? So I will often stick to the well-worn tracks if I'm by myself. Is that advice that you follow too?
Absolutely. Great idea. And even just the whole concept of walking alone, it can be a bit controversial, and I'm really sort of sensitive about recommending solo walking too much, because when you look at the statistics of people who have gone missing or have been injured in the bush and had not such a great outcome, the statistics around solo adventurers and people who are out alone is really high. Really high. Oof. But I know, oof. But I understand that, for a whole lot of reasons, people may make that choice. So look at the different things you can put into place to make that as safe as possible. So apart from the T-R-E-K, yes, choosing those well-worn tracks. Another little letter I like to put in there before the K is the C, which check. So check the weather, check the fire danger, check if there's park closures. If you're going to be near the coast, maybe check tides, that kind of thing. Check sunset and sunrise.
Really important, because it changes so dramatically throughout the year.
So much, yeah. And especially in winter, people can find themselves getting caught out so much by finding it's dark. And maybe they didn't do one of those taking what you need. They didn't pack a torch, that kind of thing. The other thing with that solo hiking piece is to maybe think about going on a track, not only well-worn, but if something happens to you and you can't either help yourself or call for help, that there's someone maybe coming behind you, like a really popular track, something like that. So, you might not want to walk in a group, but, maybe in about 10 minutes time or something, there'll be somebody else passing through and they can give you a hand and help you out with maybe a bit of first aid, because, hey, that's a great thing for us to pack, is the knowledge, how to look after ourselves and our mates, have that first aid knowledge in the first place.
Now, we've got a text that's come through saying old mate might have been an experienced walker, but he had no map and compass skills and made a number of amateur errors. That's Chris from Leichhardt. So I've done your navigation courses, 2 of them. What are some basics in regards to navigation that people need to know before they head out? What do you need to have with you?
Yeah, so part of that K, know your route and stick to it, but the T, take what you need. So taking a map. And I think, to look at Hattie, he did some good things. So he was with a group to start with. So he was with some mates. But if you are with mates, I think there's something about always having on you the stuff that makes you self-sufficient. So if something does happen, if you do get separated. So yeah, having a map and compass. And in that terms of navigation, one of the key things is just deep awareness, slowing down to see. Quite often we're in such this fast, swipey, speedy kind of culture that we live in, that we don't often slow down to see and to read the terrain. And by that I mean read where there's downs and ups. I'm using normal language as opposed to navigation type language. So, where does the hill go down? That's where water is. Okay, where does the hill go up? Okay, so what might I be likely to feel under my feet? What can I see with my eyes? But also using all of your senses, so all 5 senses. So what do I see? What do I hear? Can I hear maybe a waterfall or a creek?
Don't have headphones in.
Don't have headphones in, yeah. So, and I mean, that's one of the wonderful things about being in the bush, is to actually immerse yourself in that environment, to immerse yourself on country and to feel a part of nature. We all know the benefits of spending time in nature, the physical benefits, the emotional, the mental health, all those kind of things. And it's just like, if we can be fully present in the landscape, aware of everything going on around us, aware of the changes in the landscape. So as the track spins around to the left, or it might be to the west, we're aware of that and we're taking that in. And so if something doesn't seem right, we're like, oh, hang on. Slowing yourself down, slow yourself down to see, slow yourself down to notice the changes, and then you can take appropriate action if something doesn't seem right.
I mean, it's all about slowing down, isn't it? Being out there, being out in the bush.
Yeah, we just won't say that to a trail runner, but we all, it's all ice cream to me. It's like it's all good. There's just different flavours. Some people like to go fast in the bush, and a lot of us like to go slower. That's for sure.
I love that. It's all ice cream. Now, Philippa has texted in asking about 112. Philippa was told years ago that it was a satellite emergency number. Is that still the case, to your knowledge?
No, it's actually one of the myths about calling 000. So the best thing to do, if you do find yourself in the bush and you are lost and you have mobile phone coverage, that's the way you should be calling for help. So call 000. So 112, it was an alternate at some stage in the past, but that's now been superseded. So call 000 if you've got phone coverage. Another great thing is to get yourself that free Emergency Plus app on your phone that you can get. Download it, works for all mobile phones, and it doesn't give you, a magic satellite coverage or anything like that. But what it does is it allows you to call direct to 000 through the app, and it gives you your location. So you can tell them exactly where you are in the bush, to a latitude, longitude, and also that other newer system called What 3 Words, which is,
that's right.
Got you excited there.
So instead of looking at this long, convoluted series of numbers that might be tricky to read if you've hurt yourself or
you're
feeling
panicking.
dehydrated or panicking, you get these 3 little random words that you can read out instead, and that will give whoever receives it the information as to where you are, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are lost in the bush and you call 000, the system, and what it does is that it it asks you for which emergency service you want. And I would always recommend it's the police. So if you're lost in the bush, ask for the police. What 3 words that comes up on the screen if you're using the Emergency Plus app, it is a great way, because if you are panicking, and that's what happens, when you're lost, you get that rush of adrenaline, and it's like our little monkey brains just want to race off into lots of different places and make maybe poor decisions. The best thing you can do is stop, sit down, calm down, allow your brain and your body and all your systems to sort of catch up with yourself to make wise decisions. But because your mind is racing, what 3 words is a lot easier to read out than like a string of 15 or 20 numbers, which would appear on screen as a latitude, longitude.
Now, I've got Stuart from Bathurst on the line. Oh, no, wait, we've lost Stuart. All good.
Stuart.
We might get him back a little bit later. If any of you would like to give us a call, a chat about staying safe in the bush, if you've got your own advice, hints, tips, stories, we want to hear them. 1300 222 702, or send us a text 0467 922 702. And we've got Hannah in Sydney that says, my iPhone 15 can call emergency services using satellite even if there is no mobile coverage. I think the iPhone 14 can do it too. So that's It's a great development.
Yeah, absolutely. So with those new iPhones, they do have the satellite ability, which is great. And that's only the start of what we're about to start seeing in terms of technology and how we can make calls and make contact with people outside of mobile phone coverage. And there's a whole lot of new exciting developments coming within that space over the next few years as well. Even in terms of those personal locator beacons, they fit in the palm of your hand. They're super lightweight. You can throw them in your pack. You can rent them, because some people think, I'm only going to go out for one trip a year or 2 trips a year, and $300 or so is a bit expensive.
Yeah, they're quite pricey.
So you can rent them, you can borrow them for free from some national parks offices, which is great. And even if you've got a bunch of friends, maybe you all put in money and buy one together, and then you can share it through your group.
That's a great idea.
Super lightweight. And they are honestly lifesavers. So there's that one. And then there's also these other ones called a send device. And there are some brand names people might recognise, like a Garmin InReach or a Zoleo. These things are two-way communicators, because a PLB is like one button, one job, one way, which is, hey, it's almost like you stuck up your hand on the top of a mountain and said, hey, I'm here, come and get me. And emergency services will come to you, but you can't tell them what the problem is. So they really are to only be used in life-threatening situations.
Absolutely. So we've got Helen who's texted in saying, good morning, Rae. Good morning, Helen. Great news of the hikers' rescue, and great that ABC is trying to educate the public about the need to take personal beacons and to never separate from the group and to stay in your last known spot. Could have spared the rescuers many hours. But Caro, how easy is it to actually get separated from a group?
Yeah, great question. And, it depends a lot on a whole range of things. So one would be, it would depend on the terrain and the vegetation. So if you're walking on a really well-formed, well-managed, well-maintained track with signage and that kind of thing, it's probably fairly difficult to get separated. And again, you're out there with a group and, different people walk at different paces. So when you're thinking about going on a bushwalk or on a hike, it's a great idea to try and match yourself with the people you're going with. So people who are maybe walking at the same pace of you, or who are going out looking for the same things, they're looking for that same shared experience. So one thing I love to do is to also not only keep your awareness of what the ground is doing around you, but where are your friends?
Yeah.
They might have fallen back a bit. They might have stopped to go to the loo. Another great thing is to look behind you, because the bush looks, I know, right? The bush looks different behind you. And another thing I love is there's a little system that we've got in the bushwalking club that I'm in, which we call Deo. And especially if you're in vegetation, so you may be an overgrown track or an overgrown area, or an area maybe even off track, if you lose sight of your friends, and hey, that's another hot tip too, wear bright colours.
Yes.
Please wear bright colours. No black, no grey, no khaki, no camo. if you've felt that you've lost sight of your friends, of the people around you, can't hear them, you can't see them anymore, stand still and just do a real top of your voice, nice high pitch carries really well, a bit of a day-o, like the old song.
Like the old cooey, but different.
Exactly, because so many people say cooey from lookouts. Just for fun, why not? So a bit of a day-o, and then your friends can call back, hey, day-o, and then you keep calling to each other until you reunite. But yeah, it's having that awareness again. You know, we switch off in the bush sometimes, but it's actually about switching on, being present to everything that's around us, especially our mates.
Fantastic. Now, we do have to let you go soon, Caro, unfortunately. But first, we've got Lloyd from Moruya. How are you going, Lloyd?
Pretty good, thank you, Raylene.
Lovely to hear from you. I believe you've got some questions about bushwalking.
Well, I have, and that is to start with, if you're with a group of people, you would think there'd be a leader of the group.
Yes, absolutely. Very important to have someone responsible.
And with it, and so after walking for some distance, there'd be a head count. Somebody would stop and say, we better see if we're all here.
Yeah.
That never happened. Did he come across a hut? Why didn't he stay in the hut where there's shelter and you light a fire for warmth and then do a small radius to get food and water and always come back to the hut? And with it, and then somebody would see a bit of smoke coming out of the chimney of the hut and say, who's there?
Very interesting points there, Lloyd. Caro.
Lots of really good points there, Lloyd. And I think we're all looking to learn a lot of lessons from Hattie's experience. And I think in this there was such thick vegetation. He'd actually had lit some fires through the way that we'd found. But that sort of comes back to that point of if you are lost, stay where you are. It's a really, really great thing to do. And having a leader, really good thing there, Lloyd, because if you've got a leader and someone who's more experienced than you, who's got experience, they can not only keep an eye on the group, keep an eye on the team, keep the spirits together, make sure everyone's doing okay, but, you know, it's someone who brings together that collective resources in the team if something does go wrong and can help manage an emergency.
Fantastic
That's right.
advice.
And the thing is, see, if you do, after walking, say, for 20 minutes or half an hour, and we'll stop and have a little bit of a break, and then we'll say, we'll see who's here or not here.
Yeah.
And then you've got a small number on head count, and you say, where are they?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
One or two people go back to try and find them, and everybody stays where they are at the present. You know what I mean?
Perfect. Yes, absolutely, Lloyd. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much to Caro, outdoor
Rae.
advocate from Lots of Fresh Air, Deputy Unit Commander with SES Bush Search and Rescue. Some great advice.
Thanks, Rae.
On how to bushwalk safely. And for more stories from Caro, I highly recommend her podcast, Rescued, which you can find, I believe, on all podcast platforms.
All platforms, absolutely. In fact, coming up very soon in the next week or so, a brand new episode from an expert on human survivability who, yes, it's going to teach us a lot of lessons.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for that, Caro. Now,